So I got a new video for Path of Exile 3.23, and in this video we're going to go over a different build setup for my Scion armor stacker that I've been playing. So the last video was a version focused on max tankiness with Transcendence and all this kind of stuff, hitting over 1.7 million EHP, and this one is quite different, and we are going for max damage on this setup. And I did manage to hit about 1.6 billion DPS. I mean, that's with like a lot of things ticked in the config, of course, like Vaal Haste and all this kind of stuff. But, you know, over 1 billion damage with Molten Strike. So we're going to go over how I've built this character and what I do with it. So basically the goal of this character was to just get lots of damage. So we could do these Headhunter and foiled Mageblood maps with players deal 10% reduced or less damage per item equipped. So for these maps, you are going to have to take off one of your items. I'm taking off my amulet when I do these, and this build setup is very similar to the one that Jodox put out a couple of days ago. I'll leave a link to his channel too. You can go check out his setup as well. He's doing some things a little bit differently, and you might be interested in that setup as well. He does also have some very nice videos on basically like mirror tier armor stacker, so definitely go check those out and give him a sub and a like on his videos. Okay, so let's get into how I'm building mine. So first of all, I'm going to say these items are sort of like items that I've been using on my Transcendence build. So a lot of the items are not really 100% focused on damage where they could be. For example, my helmet is still the sort of, you know, mix of gem level and defense helmet that you might not need. You can go for the synth helmet that is on TFT that has increased 15% increased aura effect and an extra gem level as the implicit, and then also has the socketed skills have 92% reservation multiplier, and then it also has a +1 strength gem, so you're going to get quite a bit more damage out of that helmet instead of this one. But anyways, aside from that, also the body armor, I think the rest of the gear is sort of basically where you would want it to be. But let's get into the video. So we are just playing a Scion armor stacker. The skill of choice is Molten Strike, and we're not running Transcendence. And what we're doing for damage is basically, you know, good old armor stacker stuff. 2 swords, tons of armor. We're at about, let's just see here, close to 4 million armor. Oh, actually a bit more armor because I do use this ruby flask. Yeah, so about 4.3 million armor. And the way we skill our damage is just the standard armor stacker stuff with the stacking armor with the replica dream feather. We stack a lot of aura effect, or over 300% aura effect. And then we are increasing our armor by our fire resistance with this grasping mail. And then we do have quite a bit of fire resistance. We are also doing the same thing we did last time on the build with the fire mastery for regenerate 1 life per second per uncapped fire res. We're also grabbing the Guardian Ascendancy with the Forbidden Flame and Flesh to get basically tons and tons of increased life regeneration rate, or ES regeneration rate, as you can see on what the Guardian does. And this does scale with aura effect like the Necromancer aura, so we end up getting quite a lot of regen. It is, I would like it to be a bit higher. It's only at 3,600 in Hideout. And with the Grace Aura, 3,800 when we use our Smite. Smite also counts as an aura, so Smite Aura will actually bump this up to about 4k. And when we use our Bottled Faith, we're going to be at about 4,500 regen, so basically regenerating our full ES pool every second. So regen, very good. As for EHP numbers, let's go look at the character stats. Alright, so here we are in POB. You can see some of the stats. Let's go over some of the damage stats first. Our attack rate is at 15 attacks per second. So this is with Vaal Haste. Yeah, so this is with Vaal Haste. Without Vaal Haste, we're at 11 attacks per second. But anyways, we're just going to leave it like this for now, and I'll show you what the damage looks like without everything on, right? So 15 attacks per second. Each Molten Strike ball is doing about 136 million damage, and then basically, I went over this last video, so I'm not going to go into detail that much in this video, but out of 19 Molten Strike hits, we are getting 12 basically guaranteed hits if the target isn't moving, so that's why we have it set to 12 Molten Strike hits, and that combined is about 1.6 billion DPS. So there is a couple of things to note about this damage. So first of all, like we mentioned with Vol Haste, this is with Vol Haste and with Vol Smite. So if we take these off, we are at about 950 million DPS. So that's pretty much what you're going to be getting in maps. That's also with Ancestral Protector. So you have one gem slot that you can either use for Molten Shell or Leaf Slam or Ancestral Protector. So basically, depending on the content you're doing, if you're going into a uber boss like Eater of Worlds, you don't need Leap Slam. You just you're gonna one-shot the guy, so you just pop in Ancestral Protector instead to get that extra damage, right? And then if you're doing one of the Mage Blood maps, I like to carry Molten Shell because it is nice, like oh shit button, and that'll help you to tank a few of the abilities that would otherwise kill you. And in those maps, you can't even use your movement skill, so you don't need Leap Slam. But for any other content, you're going to be using Leap Slam, so this is what your damage is going to look like, about 800 million DPS. So you can get up to 1 billion DPS with this, and probably with the mirror to your helmet, it'll be 1 billion-ish plus. But anyways, so depending on the content you're doing, you just change these gems around a little bit, and the way I'm usually running it is kind of like this. Actually, while we're here, let's go over the EHP and max hit. So EHP pool is not very all that high, but very respectable, about 400k EHP and over 100k max hit. The fire hit is highest because of the ruby flask we're using, and this is very nice because in the Mage Blood maps, when you're fighting the Feared, Edziri can be a problem and she does a lot of fire damage. So this does help to negate a lot of that. And when we use Molten Shell, our EHP numbers are very nice, about 200k, 270 on fire. So very, very nice stats overall, and this is definitely enough to basically just like plow through any kind of content in the game. Okay, so like we mentioned, energy shield 4,500. You know, this can go up to easily way past 5k, 6k if you do have better gear and more intelligence. See, my intelligence is very low. I'm not a very smart armor stacker, only have 400 intelligence, and our resistances are all 90, and we do have 127% movement speed. If we do use a Quicksilver, it goes faster, and most, you know, honestly, most content, just pop in the Quicksilver because you're not going to need this much damage. But that is the character stats. So let's go back in game, go over some of the gear. So I think before we go over the gear, we should go over the passive tree real quick. So what are we doing? So this passive tree is extremely tight, and basically I have fit everything in that I want to get with one passive voices, and if you don't have one passive voices, you probably aren't going to be able to fit everything in. So you're going to have to drop a couple of things, and it's probably going to be these Forbidden Flame and Flesh jewels for the Guardian Ascendancy. So you can either choose to run Necromancer, which is going to give you quite a big damage increase, or you can run Guardian. So if you're only on 3 passive voices, you're going to have to choose which one. Guardian is going to give you quite a lot of regen. Let's just see, our energy shield regen is 3,800, and if we do drop Guardian, let's just see what it goes down to. It goes down to about 2,000. So 2,000 ES regen is still pretty good. So really depends on what you're doing. So passive tree extremely tight, and so is reservation as well. But basically what we're doing is the sort of standard Scion armor stacker tree thing. Nothing up here has changed. We're taking the fire mastery over here. We get Zealot's Oath for the regen, and this time on the Watcher's Eye, I'm using a double discipline and Fizz taken as. I think the most important mod is the ES on hit. The increased energy shield recovery rate is very nice, and so is the Fizz taken as. It will bump up your Fizz EHP a bit, but it's not really needed. You can go for another damage mod like Attack Speed Precision and get even more damage out of this setup. And aside from that, we're coming down over here, and some notable things we're doing differently than last build is we're going up to Precise Technique. So the reason I want to do this, it does cost 3 points instead of 2 points over here, but the nice thing about that is then you can actually use a replica Dream Feather with Precise Technique or Resolute Technique on it, and that means you don't really ever need to you don't need to have a high level precision gem. So I do still have precision level 1 because this gem over here, even though it's only level 1, it is giving us all the benefits from our ascendancy from the necromancer. So it's giving us the attack and cast speed and the increased recovery rate of energy shield. So, and remember, these do scale with aura effects. So this attack speed is about 6%, and then this recovery rate is about 7 or 8%. So even though it's just level 1 aura, it is giving me quite a lot of nice stats. See, if I take this off, we're going to go down to 3,400. So it's basically like 200 ES regen just by having this level 1 aura in. Okay, so since we have a level 1 precision, that means we have more reservation on the tree. And what we can do is I can fit in a blood and sand. Blood and sand, very nice for the area damage. It does give quite a lot of damage. And when, but the only thing is when I do go into, say, like one of the maps that has players do deal 10% less damage per equipped item, I do have to remove one item, and I'm usually removing my amulet. So that means, and when I do that, I'm not going to have enough mana to use blood and sand. I've tried to fit it in, but just can't fit it in. So what I do is I just take it out, and then I put a precision inspiration in here, so my mark is free, and then I can take this out, and you see I have 9 mana left, and that's enough to attack. And with inspiration, I can actually cast my sniper's mark. So that's kind of how I'm doing this right now. For any other content, just set it up like this, and you're good to go. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the tree. We're also getting point blank. All of your projectiles aren't really going to get this 30% bonus, so actually in POB is kind of lying a little bit, but I really don't want to mess around too much inside the POB config that much to like try to figure out the real damage, right? It doesn't really matter at this point. I think, you know, like 700 million, 900 million, 1 billion. Honestly, when you get to that much damage, it really doesn't matter. It's just another number, right? Okay, so let's go over some of the gear. So pretty much the gear is exactly the same as my Transcendence version, except since we're not running Transcendence, we don't have to really worry about converting all of our Fizz to Elemental. So we do still have quite a lot of this Fizz taken as, which is actually pretty nice for our Fizz max hit. And then same thing here with the rings. We have our Nimbus, we have our Original Sin with Withered, and we're getting our Withered from the that which was taken jewel. It's only 15%, but since we are attacking 15 times per second, we get 12 hits on that, so that's about 180 hits per second. Right, and since we're attacking 15 times per second, and we do have 12 balls that hit per second, we're getting about 180 hits. And that is definitely enough to cap out your wither stacks. You can see we are at 27 wither stacks. Oh, I guess, you know, but I mean, it's definitely enough to cap out the wither stacks, even though it's just 15%. So that's why Molten Strike is sort of the skill of choice. If you're using Smite or Lightning Strike, you're not going to be able to get to that 15 cap. You're probably going to be stuck at around 5 or 8 or something. So let's just see. Anything else? I did get a new belt, so I have a Grace Determination Mage Blood, and then I swapped out my flask for a Bottled Faith. So you can actually go for a you can either use Taste of Hate, I guess it's okay, and then there is the Dying Sun for extra projectiles, but I do like the Bottled Faith. It does give a nice damage increase, and then it does also give you a lot of regen. So when we have our Bottled Faith active, let's just see, it is giving quite a lot of regen, about 400-ish regen, maybe a bit more. So this does help when you're trying to like burst down the feared and that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's go over the charms. We do have some different charms this time. We are still using 2 of these mana reservation max fire res. We do need them to get our maximum fire res. You can see are at 90 all res, and without this one we go to 89. So that does help us get our max our maximum resistance, and it also does give us enough mana reservation. And the other one we're using is 3% of armor applies to fire, cold, and lightning, and then we have banner skills of no reservation on there, so that's very nice for reservation. So let's just see, if you are doing this on a sort of budget, or you want to try it out, let's just say you don't have the 1 passive voices, and you probably won't have this charm either. Well, what could you do? Okay, so basically what you're going to do is this whole area, you're going to have to cut it out. And this is going to be quite a big damage loss. And you're probably going to have to stick to a normal sword without Resolute Technique. But I really don't think there is any other points you could drop, honestly. Maybe you could drop Blood and Sand to help with the reservation. But you probably would have to drop all of this stuff if you have, say, if you're only using large clusters, right? That's probably something I would do. I guess there is really nothing else on the tree that you can kind of drop, and that means you are going to lose the Guardian, either the Guardian or the Necromancer Ascendancy, so you just pick which one you want. And that's pretty much all I can say for what you can do to kind of do this on a tighter budget. Okay, so that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.